I was in my local Co-op supermarket. It's a popular shop here in the UK and the Isle of Man. And I saw these Vype things behind the counter. It's a nicotine alternative to cigarettes. It's the vaping device, but this one's very interesting. It's one of these ones that is based on cartridges that you can't easily refill, and that's part of the reason I bought it. I wanted to see just how hard have they made it to refill these. So it comes with the usual warnings of cigarettes. This product contains nicotine, which is a highly addictive substance, and interestingly in the back, it does say it's distributed by the British American Tobacco UK Limited. So that this must be an attempt by the tobacco industry to keep their finger in the pie, so to speak, instead of selling packets of cigarettes, they sell packets of cartridges by making this device quite affordable. I think it was £12 the kit of the battery unit with the charging lead, and then 2 cartridges for the inside. 2 different flavours to try. And it's also interesting that it says E-pen cartridge blended tobacco contains vegetable glycerine, water. It's odd to see them actually mention the water as the ingredient. Propylene glycol, nicotine and tobacco flavourings. That's the classic recipe for e-liquid is vegetable glycerine, propylene glycol, and the nicotine is base e-liquid. And likewise for the mint flavoured one. But what's really interesting is they say that the USB charging cable, the unit and the cartridge are all made in China, but the liquid is specifically made in the UK. I wonder if this is to give a certain consistency and reliability to the quality of the liquid. And the design of this, I'll show you, we're going to take this to bits and we're going to take a look at refilling it. But the design of this, I have to say, is superb. It has really been well engineered. So you've got 2 little buttons on this. You've got a sort of up and down button. It's not really an up and down button. I'm going to cover it here so you can actually see the lights. If you press one of the buttons, nothing happens. If you have to unlock it by pressing it 3 times, whereupon it glows. And the colour it glows when you press it just once after that shows the state of charge. So it can do green for fully charged, yellow for middle charge, and red for, time to charge it. It's got a double arrow pointing up and it's got a single arrow pointing down. They're just 2 different vaping levels. It's 2 different power levels. So if you then, once it's unlocked, you hold the up button and you press and you inhale through it. It gives out 1 level of vapour. If you then hold the down button, inhale, it gives a slightly reduced level of vapour, and that's the only controls you have. You can lock it by pressing the button 3 times, and it'll flash to show it it's locking. But if you don't lock it, it will automatically lock itself after a short delay. The cartridges, and this one is almost empty, I've already refilled this one. This is the original I bought. I bought a completely replacement because I had to go at refilling and experiment with the cartridges. They are so well designed. That's part of the engineering that's so beautiful, is they've really made these hard to refill. The bastards. But that is the type of device this is. It is designed to encourage repeat sales. And I'll show you how to refill these. I'll show you 2 different ways, but 99.99% of people who buy these are not going to attempt to refill them. So the cartridge unscrews, and it's a non-compatible thread and system so that you don't use other systems. And it's got an inner sleeve in here and an outer sleeve. And when you inhale, air is pulled up through the base here, goes past the vaporizer cartridge, and then goes up the outer sleeve, goes in, and then comes through the hole at the top. This is decorative. I mean, it works quite well, but you don't need this black cover to actually vape with this device. You can just screw this on. You can actually inhale directly through here. So if I unlock it by clicking 3 times, it just works as well. All this does, and it's got a rubber end here that cups down onto that. This just makes it look stylish. And it does. It looks very stylish. It's got the USB port in the bottom here for charging it. I'll tell you what, let's open the box and I'll show you what the completely new one looks like. So out comes the knife. Flick. Before I go any further, because people will ask, this is an Amtech knife, a generic brand in the UK. It's got a lovely action though. When you slide this, when you push the little plunger down here, it locks at either end, and it does this really nice sort of movement. I just thought I'd mention that. People will want to know. People seem to love nice for some reason. And vaping devices, it's just one of these things. And flashlights, it's just those things that people like. This one came from TK Maxx in the UK. They occasionally have them. It's very random. So the outer sleeve comes off on this. Oh, I'll need the knife again. That label is quite good. It's well sealed with these seals. That comes off, throw that down there. It swings open. There's the vaping device. I'm trying to remember what sort of charge it comes with. I guess it's a mid-charge. Oh, it says fully charged. That's fine. So it comes with the cover, it comes with the base unit, and we will be opening this one to see what's inside. And it comes with this, folds down, pulls out like this. It's all very nicely packaged. Down goes that. And inside this, how does this open? Like that. We have the USB charging lead, and we have the 2 sealed cartridges. And I'm guessing that the bulk of the money that they're aiming on making is from selling these cartridges here. So let's pop this out. I want to mention that they are nicotine based. I want to just mention that I don't normally vape nicotine. I shall do it just to show it working. So it's got this thing, and I have to say, my first attempt at refilling this, I thought maybe just because of the liquid I couldn't see a stem down the middle, because it looks as though there's a little airport going down. I couldn't work out how this was working. I have taken one to bits now, so I know. But there is an inner sleeve and an outer sleeve, and then under the sleeve at the bottom there is the mechanism. It is very clever. I've taken a picture of the guts. I shall show you it afterwards. So this screws on and makes connection. The cover goes over. Is that still unlocked? It is. It's gone down to, now it's unlocked, it's gone down to yellow. That must have just been green to show it was unlocked. It's half charge, which you'd expect. And when I vape, yeah, that is nicotine based. It's so much different. Ugh. That is the cigarette experience. So let's start by opening this up then. And take a look inside. Then we'll take a look at the... I will be showing you 2 different ways to refill these cartridges, but this channel is all about taking things to bits, so let's take this to bits. I'm guessing that there's going to be a little caddy. I'm guessing there's a rectangular cell in here. Shall we zoom down a bit? Yes, we shall zoom down a bit. Enhance. And I shall just stuff a screwdriver in here, I guess. I'm not sure how well sealed this is together. Oh, almost impaled myself there. I'll bring in the spudger and we'll try, but I'm not convinced the spudger is going to go into this. I've got a horrible feeling it's very well sealed and it's going to be destructive. But you know what? If it's destructive, it's destructive. It is all about taking stuff to bits. Yeah, you know what? I don't think there's going to be any pretty way to do this. Oh, is that just a black coating applied over the outer plastic? I'm not really sure here. I wasn't expecting that black finish. I think they do them in other colours as well. Let's have another go with the spudger down here. No, I think this is pretty well sealed shut. I'm suspicious about this little band. Is this revealing? Is this hiding a seam or something? And what about this one at the bottom? Shall we... Hold on, let's explore. This is not going back together. Black plastic there. Different black plastic at the bottom. It's all going AVE, isn't it now, with this analysis? White plastic at the top, joining on. So these little bands here both seem to represent a joint. Well, not a joint as in marijuana, but a connection between the two. I shall squeeze this. It is charged. That's going to be a bit scary. I shall put it in the vice of knowledge and we shall squeeze it. How much of that was actually in shot? I'm forgetting I'm zoomed in. I've just got a horrible feeling now that I've done what I normally do and gone completely off shot while I was scraping that, but I may not have. Oh. Right. That's come out now. That's also pulled all the wires off. So what do we have down here? I think we've got a temperature sensor. That is interesting. Damn, it always bugs me when I've suddenly realised I may have been off shot for part of that. That is a lot of wires going down there. There's the positive connection. Let's render it relatively safe. There is another connection, positive connection going down there. Let's render that safe. It's like defusing a little bomb. Oh, of course, it's the USB charging. Okay. So I'm guessing it's got the green and blue going down to, oh, it's got lots of wires going down to the bottom. Oh, and everything's sealed into a little clear capsule here. That's kind of intriguing. Now I've cut both the positive connections, I should be able to just cut all these wires. The cell looks as though it may actually be oval. That's intriguing. Oh, that cell is oval. Have we seen an oval cell before? Look at that. 650 milliamp power, HV131735R. I have never seen an oval cell before. That is really unexpected. So what have we got down here? Oh, there's a circuit board down there as well. Wow. That's quite sophisticated. Can we liberate this? It's going to be sealed. I think I might have to bring the Vice of Knowledge in again. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as sophisticated as this, but this is... The engineering behind it is very in keeping with what I've already ascertained from playing about with it, that it's been a very serious bit of design work. They really are trying to make this idiot-proof and reliable. It's Clive-proof so far. It won't be for very long. Can I liberate that just by pushing something into the end of it? No, it's very securely fastened. Right, okay. Let's nibble at it. Let's grip it with the pliers. This is where it comes out. Oh, there we go, there we go. What we got? Ooh. That's a lot of wires. This thing is not a cheap thing to make. That is odd. I shall investigate. Oh, blimey, look at this. It's got lots of components on it. I wonder if those are... I wonder if all the charge protection circuitry is on there. That is very intriguing. That's neat. Which is in keeping, as I say, with the rest of the design. It's a very serious attempt at getting into the vaping market. Let's see if I can spudge into this now. I can see the sort of little circuit board in here on a little caddy. But now we're talking lots of plastic molded components here. I think British Tobacco, or whatever that company was, will be pleased that the majority of people will just be using the refill cartridges, because that's clearly to compensate for the cost of making this. It's kind of almost like a loss leadery type product. Here is the little cover. There's the buttons. Oh, it's got 4 LEDs under it. It's got a little regulator. Shit, this is complex. And then the 2 wires, surprisingly thin wires, going down to the heating element connector. Wow. Oh, not only that, but it's 2 layers of circuit board. That is immense. How many connections are in this? Can I get this apart any further? There are 6 connections from top to bottom. Okay, well, I got this to sacrifice. There's a little, presumably, I'm guessing it's a microcontroller. Let's cut that connection and that connection. And same again up here. Wonder who designed this. Oh shit, look at that. Wow. That is just so sophisticated for such a generic device. I shall get some numbers off these. Actually, I'll give you some numbers now. BT001745GD 272-48063 ARM. Is that an ARM processor? So, what about the other side? 432 is written in that little transistor component. We've got buttons and LEDs on the other side. What about this bit then? Is this dealing with the power regulation to the output? It must be. And its chip is marked. Steaming up with excitement here. PS63020. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm guessing with inductor. And are these transistors? This one's marked R15. They're both marked R15. Wonder if they're MOSFETs and, you know, buffering up from that. I'm not really sure. I shall find out in due course. That's pretty damn impressive. While we're looking at this, I'll just look at the numbers on the bottom of this. I'll not hold my breath. WS07. I'll not hold my breath for being able to identify many of these items because they may be... That one's marked 431, it's a little transistor. Another little 3-pin component marked 1HC. And this is its battery protection, or is this will be a standard charging? That'll be the classic. It says LPS BB7W1. I guess that's a typical charging control chip. But signalling back, instead of just lighting LEDs locally, it will be signalling back because it's the unit does indicate, and its little matrix of 4 LEDs here, it does indicate the charging state. That's very, very impressive. Let's zoom back out. And take a look at the cartridges now. You can refill the cartridges in the way that has already been discovered and propagated on YouTube, because other people have had a go at this too. It's not that easy. The first method of doing it, the label is purely for decoration and identification. The first method of doing it is to detach the base here from the plastic, and the best way to do that is to warm it in a jar of water. I suppose you could use a heat gun, but it's most consistent to just drop this into basically a cup with boiling water in it, and I'll show you that. I'm going to do that right now. 1 jug of boiling water. This has been soaking it for a while. That should soften the plastic. I'll put this to the side so I don't spill it everywhere. The usual thing on the internet is to suggest gripping the base like this. I've found that quite tricky because there's not much to grip. So what I did was I screwed it onto the actual device itself. I'm not sure this is a good idea because there's always the risk that you're going to break the actual end off the vaping device. But if you then gradually wiggle, then the plastic sleeve gradually pulls up until, and I'm going to aim this down because it's full of liquid still, until the base separates from the plastic, like that, and reveals the vaping section. This is disposable, which is a shame because it's actually quite nicely designed. We can take a closer look at that. We have the cartridge here though, and we want to take a look inside it. So let's push the inside of this cartridge out. I have a blunt syringe, an inkjet refill syringe that I'll use for this. So I'm going to push this cartridge out. And here's the inner sleeve versus the outer sleeve. Let's get down closer to this so you can actually see what I'm doing here. So here's the inner sleeve, and it does have a little channel up the side of it, a little sort of indentation to allow the vapor to go up. Now, some have this little metal shield. I'm guessing the little metal shield here is to protect against heat coming up from the heating element, because I did notice in some of the earlier refill videos, they didn't have these in them. But this technique for refilling it involves removing this little sleeve, noting that it's got one side of it points up the way. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a wee lip pointing up the way. That does physically point up the way from this cartridge, and it's the bit that lines up with this indentation in the silicon module here with the heating element and wick, and it also lines up with the groove in this where the vape carries up. So there is what some people describe as a filter. It's not a filter, it's a wicking material. It's very delicate, very easy to damage. It's almost like a paper fibre mush, and it is designed to stop this unit leaking. It's part of the rather neat design of this. And once you lift this up, it reveals, actually I brought some to put this on, it reveals the liquid through this sort of, it's not a filter as such, it's basically a series of holes. And I'm just going to actually suck all the liquid out of this. This is the nicotine-based liquid, and I'm going to get rid of that because I don't want nicotine-based liquid in my devices. So to refill this, you can then get, say for instance, this is a standard nicotine-free sarsaparilla from Smoke Max. People show the refilling, they put it over the middle hole, and then they just squeeze to actually sort of just hopefully seal onto it and fill that up with liquid. It's quite it's not a straightforward way of refilling this, so I don't see many people doing it, unless they're really avid, they enjoy doing stuff like that. To you and me, yes, we'd probably dabble about around like this. But to others, the people this is aimed at fundamentally, they probably wouldn't do it. Once you've done that, you can then put the little metal clip back in that seems to hold that down and also act as a slight heat shield in the middle. And then you can slide it back onto this. This one bit goes into the middle, like this. And then the outer sleeve, which is the bit that's going to seal over with this O-ring here. I mean, it's a really nice design, then the grip at the bottom. That will just slide over, and that is it effectively refilled once you've slid that fully down. Slid it down. There we go. So that's one way to refill it. It's not the easiest way. I'm going to get rid, actually I won't get rid of this liquid yet. I'll get rid of it once I've shown the other way to refill it, which is involves more tools, but makes it easier to refill in future, I think. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to show you what the inside of this metal thing as well. I do have, in fact, let's take an interlude to actually take a look at that right now. No, let's do that at the end. That's the best bit. So I've got, this is the tobacco flavoured cartridge. They come with this little seal that it's all cleverly designed. This goes up and it plugs the hole in here, so this can't leak even under extreme conditions. It should actually stay fairly dry, which is ultimately how they've designed it. I don't even need to remove this foil because my approach here is to get a drill. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but cordless drill. Someone was recently saying your cordless drill doesn't look very dirty for someone who works in the electrician. This one never leaves this bench. It's always underneath this bench. It's strictly a home drill. I use the beefier version for work. So I'm going to take a 1.5mm drill here, or whatever your imperial equivalent is. I'm going to pop it into the drill here. And I'm going to drill a hole down the end of the cartridge. And try and get it as central as possible. Blunt drill. There we go. Then, is that going to be big enough for this needle? Hope it is. Yes, it is. So now I'm going to suck all the liquid out of that cartridge like that. The liquid is gone. Blech. And then I'm going to get a bigger drill. I'm going to get a drill that will drill this, because that's what I've done there. I've drilled down through the middle here into the inner cartridge. And now I'm going to drill with, what's the best size of drill bit here? I want something that's going to drill into the bigger cartridge, the outer layer, but without actually damaging the edge, because I still want it to mate onto the the sort of mouthpiece thing that goes over the top of it. So I'm going to go with 6mm, which is around 1/4 of an inch. I'm guessing, I don't know if this will be sold or an equivalent in the USA, but this is what we have here. So I'm going to very carefully, really carefully, grind my way down here without going into the inner cartridge, hopefully. This is still experimental. There we go. Righty-ho. Excellent. So I'm just going to use my snips to get that residual plastic out. I don't want to go too deep and damage that. And my idea is that if you've got a screw from your usual little tub of screws, where have I got a screw here? I've already looked one out. If you get a little tiny screw, just put this drill out the way now. I'm just actually going to empty this syringe. I'll just be back in a moment. I'm just going to empty this so I can refill it with proper liquid. Done. And by proper liquid, I just mean nicotine-free e-liquid. Sarsaparilla flavour, nicotine-free e-liquid. So I'm going to get this syringe. I'm just going to put it in the end of this. I don't think it fits down the end of this, but I shall try and suck some into the syringe. I'm not really sure how much this cartridge holds. I'm going to put in 2ml. Yeah, let's try 2ml in this cartridge and see how we get on. So, in the syringe goes, squirt the liquid in. It is 2ml it holds. Actually, it's less than 2ml. So now there's that hole there, and before I go any further, I'm going to, before it all starts dripping through the unit, I'm going to take a screwdriver. And I'm going to screw this little screw in. Now, the screw I chose to fit into that small hole, and it's just, you know, it's a screw out of my usual tub of salvage screws. This little tub here, the one that's absolutely full of random screws taking out stuff, just in case they might find another application. And the screw was chosen for being just enough to block that hole up that I've drilled, but also the head is not big enough to come through this hole, just in case the screw did somehow come out. And that should be it refilled. Let's pop this into a vaping device. And hopefully that screw will seal tight enough, because I don't want liquid going down into the unit. That is the kiss of death for units like this when liquid gets downed onto the circuit board, because it does the glycerol, the glycerine and the propylene glycol are both extremely moisture absorbing. They actually suck moisture out there. So let's try this then. It will, I'm going to have to just draw the initial. The initial stuff will have the original nicotine liquid in it. Yes, it's still got the nicotine liquid. Still the nicotine stuff. It takes a while for that to work through. Right, okay, let's move on. So I'm going to bring in the next exhibit, which is the splendid atomizer design. It's almost wasteful, this bit. So here is a close-up of the components in the atomizer. Let's zoom down onto there. The atomizer, oh, I can open one up. I can take one of these to bits. I already took one to bits. Where is it? There it is. There it is. But these are the components. It's got a silicon insert that goes down into this body here, and it supports the heat element. Now, the heat element is the coil of heating wire, the resistance wire, with some sort of wicking fibre going through it. That is placed down into this, but this silicon housing has a couple of holes through it that those wires go down. And that kind of supports one of them, it supports the wick at the correct height, but it also makes the electrical connection because, where's a pen? One of the wires, there's a sort of recess in like that. One of the wires comes down in the pillar and it sort of comes down and then it folds to the side as far as I can see. And that must make connection. When this is pressed into this metal housing, that will be one of the connections that goes onto the body of this metal housing. The other wire seems to go down in its little support pillar. I'm going to have to poke that out again, have another look at this. And it comes into the inside of that body. It seems to come down into the inside of that. And then from the other side of the metal capsule, we have another silicon insert goes in. And this, it looks as though this one goes down the inside of that silicon insert. And then there's a metal pin. This metal pin, there's a silicon insert here. So if you can imagine that one of those wires is coming down the inside of that and folding to the side. And then this metal pin here goes into that once this has been pushed in from the base of this metal cup. And that makes the other connections. So then we end up with this the metal plate coming down like that, but it's made the connection and it makes the electrical connection, but also allows air to flow up. And the air flows up to this wicking material, and then the vapor comes through this channel here and then goes up the side of this cartridge, this sort of indent up the side of that. It's really designed for mass production ultimately, but it's really nicely designed. The things like the wicking material in the bottom of this to try and only allow the liquid to leave when it's wicking out, plus the way it mates onto the strands of the stuff that wicks it down to there. And then when during shipping and transit, they block that off completely with this. It is really a lot of thought has gone into this. But a lot of the thought has also been into how to stop people filling it. It would have been nice. My first attempt was to drill through the side. I thought that I didn't realise that there was the two layers in there. So when I drilled through the side, what actually happened there was that it perforated the outer sleeve and the inner sleeve. And although you could put a bit of tape over the outer sleeve, it meant that the liquid leaked from the inner sleeve to the outer sleeve, and that meant that there was no sort of airlock. That meant that the liquid could theoretically over time leak into the device. But it also meant as you inhaled, it kind of caught the liquid and you ended up like pulling liquid into your mouth, which is not nice. It's got that sickly taste if you do it with the nicotine-free stuff, and it's got that biting bitterness if you pull the nicotine up. Talking of the nicotine, I wonder if they're doing the same trick. The cigarette industry didn't just use nicotine. They treated the nicotine in some instances with ammonia. And the ammonia increased the ability of the nicotine to enter your, well, it made it more addictive fundamentally. Traditionally, the cigarette industry referred to it as greater satisfaction, i.e. greater nicotine hit of the ammonia-treated liquid. So I wonder if they're, given the industry, and given that traditional e-liquid isn't so addictive, I don't think, I wonder if they've put anything else in here disguised as those flavourings to do that. It is that type of industry. But there you go. The Vype, it's just a really incredible design. I'll note down these numbers. I'll put a list of them down in the description down below so you can do a bit of reverse engineering yourself. It's just a really interesting design. It is, so much thought has gone into this. It's been superbly engineered. Ultimately, I suppose that is because they're making such a serious effort to keep their foothold in that industry. It's very interesting. So yeah, there we have it. The Vype vaping device that takes the expensive disposable cartridges and is really clearly aimed at traditional cigarette smokers. A couple of other details I wanted to add to what I've said already. It's also got charge monitoring. If it detects an anomaly, if it detects it's attempting to charge, but I'm guessing if it doesn't charge in a certain length of time, it will flag it up as a bad cell because it indicates that the cell is got an internal fault and it detects basically a charging anomaly and will flash a warning, and basically I think it locks out at that point. It basically says unit is not usable, it's not stable anymore. So it's just another of those safety precautions that they're protect themselves against liability if anything goes wrong with these units. So it has that extra battery monitoring, which is very clever. Other things, Unlike your typical cloud chasing type device, like say for instance, okay, it's not a serious cloud chasing device, but it produces tons of vapor, like the Kangertech. The Kangertech has the advantage of it's got a very easy airflow. And produces tons of vapor. This unit's not like that. This unit has quite a restrictive airflow. The air that's flowing into this cartridge is basically going in these side channels. The contact here has a little slot in it to let the air flow, quite a convoluted air route, but it is quite a strong air resistance. And when you get this cover on, there's a couple of little holes at the side that the air flows in. So it is, when you inhale through this, it's quite restrictive. It doesn't let a huge amount of air flow through it, but that's maybe, again, aimed at producing the similar effect for the people who are used to traditional cigarettes. I couldn't tell you what the sort of vaping effect is of that. With the Kangertech, where you've got the adjustable air intake, in this case it's at the top, then the airflow is really immense in this one, which is partly designed because it's designed to allow you to draw a lot of air in and vapor at the same time. It's worth mentioning, I got this from the same company I got these liquids. This is the Smoke Max. This is standard liquid. It's not the sort of like the cloud chasery type liquid. It's interesting, I might have mentioned this before, when I went in and got this from them, one of the first questions they said was, "Are you a smoker at the moment?" I said, "No, it's really just for the sort of the fog and the novelty of the technology." And they said, "Okay, in that case, we're not going to sell you nicotine liquids. We'll only sell you the cloud chasery type liquid with no nicotine in that. And we'll check that when you actually go to checkout." So kudos to them for doing that. They know that there is a completely different market for people who just like the huge plumes of vapor, and they're not planning on getting them into sort of nicotine as such. That's quite impressive that they did that. I like this device as well. I like it a lot, this Kangertech. It's unlike, I got another one recently, which was the 88 Vape, which is a sort of cheapo type thing. And the 88 Vape has the air intake at the bottom, and sort of it can ooze if it's not stored. If you store this one standing upright, because the air intake is at the top, and this is beautifully machined, it doesn't do that thing that it doesn't leak. Basically, it can't leak. It's very cleverly designed. I've got a circuit board out of one of these that someone sent me. I didn't realise at the time that it was the same device as I ended up buying. But it's a different leak to this. This one is, the two designs are impressive. This one, of course, has a little display in it and you can adjust the power up and down. And it's got the battery protection and everything all on the one board. And regulation. But I have to say, the Vype has impressed me. I didn't expect it to be quite so sophisticated. The fact there were basically 3 circuit boards in it with a fairly beefy processor, and all those features like automatic lockout, the double threshold, double level for the vaping, the 4 indicators, the white one for when you're actually vaping, the presumably then, I thought the orange was just the red and green lit, but it seems to be a separate LED. Everything it's a very slick design. Yeah, definitely. I was very impressed with that. There was a lot more to it than I was expecting. Very impressive device indeed.